If you're thinking about breaking into the Microsoft cloud security game or already are a seasoned consultant, the Microsoft certifications are always a great way to showcase your knowledge. But especially as someone who's starting out, making sense about all of those certifications, which ones should you start out with, which ones are more difficult, which ones are easier, it can be a bit difficult. So in this video, I'm going to go through all of the Microsoft certifications for cybersecurity and maybe give you a path that you can start out with. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Miska. I'm a cybersecurity consultant and a Microsoft MVP. I've been working with Microsoft Cloud Security for almost 5 years now. And along those years, I've gathered almost all of the Microsoft Cloud certifications when it comes to cybersecurity. But without further ado, let's dive in so you know where you can start. To start off, you need to understand a few basic things about the Microsoft certifications, and these are almost the same for cybersecurity, for Azure, for M365, and so on. Microsoft certifications are one of the ways you can use to prove that you know something related to their products at a specific level. These Microsoft certifications are offered on 3 different levels. First, you have the 1-star, meaning the fundamental certification. These go through the very basics of said product category or topic. Then you have associate level or 2-star certifications. These go a little bit more in depth on the technicalities and require you to know how the products are actually configured. And finally, you have the 3-star or expert certifications or architect certifications, which are quite challenging and require you to understand a wide variety of use cases for the products, not only the technicalities that are behind them, but also how to actually apply them as part of a wider architecture in a company. So if you're starting out in security, what you should do probably is start out with the 1-star fundamental certification, which for cybersecurity is the SC900. The SC900 is a quite easy certification. What it really goes through is that you understand the basic concepts about cybersecurity, which aren't really solely focused on Microsoft products, but rather the basic things like the CIA triad and other stuff like that. In addition to that, you'll require some knowledge about the basic Microsoft security tools like Defender XDR, Sentinel, and Entra ID. But once again, we're talking about the really basics here. The rule of thumb for fundamental certifications is that you have to know what a product does, but not really how you configure it. For all of these certifications, you can find materials on Microsoft Learn that you can go in and read by yourself. There are also online courses on YouTube, for example, that you can look through. One great thing about these fundamental certifications is that they never expire, meaning that you don't have to renew your certification every single year, but rather you once pass it and then you have it forever. Now, moving on from that basic fundamental certification, you start looking at the associate level. And for security, there are 3, and then there's 1 kind of extra certification. And those certifications are the SC200, the SC300, the SC401, and as a bonus, the AZ500. So let's quickly go through each one and what they cover. First of all, SC200 is the Security Operations Analyst Associate certification, meaning it focuses on security operations. If you are someone that's working or looking forward to working in a SOC, a Security Operations Center, this is the certification that you should go for. It goes through Defender XDR and Sentinel very thoroughly, going through how do you configure, for example, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office, for cloud apps, and so on, and also how do you configure Microsoft Sentinel as a SIEM system. These are very important skills, and I would say that this certification is something that you really should do if you're looking to work with Sentinel or Defender. The exam can have some quite tricky questions about the Custo query language, so I suggest that's something that you pay close attention to. Next, the SC300, which is the Identity and Access Administrator Associate certification. This dives deep into Entra ID and how IAM systems or the identity and access management works in the Microsoft Cloud. This is something that you should really look for if you're looking to do any sort of things in Entra ID. This goes through very well how the Entra ID system works, how the different security features like ID protection or conditional access work in Entra ID. It is totally something that you should dive into. I would say that this wasn't actually that difficult of a certification. I would say that SC200 is a little bit more challenging than this one. Next up, the SC401. SC401, or the Information Security Administrator Associate certification, is the newest one of all the SC certifications. There used to be an SC400, but that was retired and now has been replaced by the 401 certification. So if you see that somewhere, you'll know what's up. This certification goes through Microsoft's Purview solution of information protection tools. What you're looking for here is sensitivity labels, data loss prevention, data lifecycle management, and that kind of tools that you probably wouldn't really run into if you were doing the SC200 or 300. So if you're not so much working on the antivirus or cybersecurity side, but more on the information protection side, the SC401 is definitely the certification you should look out for. And it's also the only certification of this video that I haven't done for myself. So I cannot really dive into how difficult it was. I'm hopefully taking the exam soon. Keep that in mind that it's the newest certification. Now we have the odd one out, the AZ500 exam. As you can see, it's actually not an SC certification, but rather an AZ certification, which means that it's an Azure certification. The AZ500, or the Azure Security Engineer Associate certification, is regarded as a security certification, even though it's under the Azure family. And what it goes through is security in the Azure cloud environment. What you're going through is how you can secure, for example, storage accounts, how Key Vault security work, how do you secure different kinds of applications that you're building in Azure. It also goes through Defender for Cloud as a solution. So if you're working with Defender for Cloud and more of the Azure side of things rather than M365, this is the certification you should look out for, even though it doesn't have SC in the name. I recently took this certification, and I have to say that it's one of the most difficult ones I've done due to just the sheer amount of material that you have. And also the world is very different compared to, for example, the M365 world of the SC200 certification. So definitely look out for that and prepare. Now, finally, we come into the 3-star territory, or the expert certifications. And here you have only one certification, which is the SC100, or the Cybersecurity Architect Expert. And as the name implies, this is meant for architect level knowledge about Microsoft. And the most difficult thing about this certification is just the sheer range of things that you have to be knowledgeable about. It doesn't only require to know about Azure or M365. You also have to know about the Dynamics world. You have to know about Azure DevOps and GitHub. The variety of things that you have to understand are vast, and it takes some time to actually get acquainted with all of those technologies. Usually I would recommend this to do later in your career, when you have had time to get acquainted with a lot of different products, have seen a variety of scenarios of where the products are used, and gathered that knowledge. On these architect level exams, the questions aren't anymore about, okay, what feature do I need to do this thing? But rather, we have this type of environment and these types of tools. What solution is the best for us and why? And that really requires you to just gather that knowledge along the way. I completed this exam a couple of years ago, and I have to say that it was challenging. You had to understand a lot of things, and it really takes time to do the exam. But in the end, I passed quite well. It certainly was challenging, but I wouldn't say that it's absolutely impossible, or you need tens of years of experience before trying to pass it. So I would recommend that this is a certification that you look into only after you've gone through those other certifications. And especially since this 3-star expert certification requires you to have passed at least one of those associate 2-star level certifications that I mentioned before. But those are the Microsoft cybersecurity certifications. I hope this video maybe helps you to choose which one you should go for. Comment down below which ones you're trying to get, which ones you have gotten. What are your thoughts on the exams? What was the most difficult one, the easiest one, and so on. And thank you for watching.